Hello and welcome to week 22 of the Pokemon Emerald Blitz weekly box. Typically for Emerald Blitz, you draft a team of Pokemon against other players, but for the weekly box, we just run an 8-box of Pokemon that I set every week for everybody to play and compare your results with everything. This week we have a new Pokemon to Emerald Blitz, Bronzong, and the rest of the box is kind of filled out with a lot of solid Mons that I think are a little bit undervalued, and hopefully I'll be able to show you that in this video. First gym this week, we end up getting Juan Wallace 1, which is very fun with this box because we get to lead a fire type into Juan Wallace and go unpunished. We also have Friscothita without an item to steal the Dondozo Berry, which is very fun, I think. And then Shellos is insane, especially into early Juan Wallace before Juan Wallace really gets coverage, because I want to say this Dondozo only has Tackle as its non-water damaging move. So we're able to just click a few debuff moves and then two-shot it. And the Tatsugiri we also effectively never have to worry about because the only move that it can damage us with Shellos on the field is Rapid Spin, which does nothing. So I'll go ahead and super speed this up since it's just clicking a few damaging moves into Tatsugiri. Then we jump straight into Norman 2, which having Fido into early Norman I really like doing because we have own tempo, you don't have to worry about a berry. We end up getting a high roll on second play rough, which is really nice. Vigoroth comes in, but I'm contemplating whether I want to switch Fido out for Arcanine, or for Growlithe at this stage to get the Intimidate off, but I decide instead just to go Baby Doll Eyes with Fido. We cover the berry away, and then now I'm going to go ahead and switch into Growlithe, get it to -2. And now, assuming that I don't get crit, which is definitely possible, this Vigoroth will be a much easier fight for the time being. I kind of stupidly go for Leer without really thinking what I'm going to put in after. But the Bronzor is going to be able to come in and kind of just bail us out of a little bit of stupid playing by clicking Psywave. And this is really the strength of Bronzor, is just being able to go out and click Psywave a bunch into some of the early gym powerhouses, because we're really going to be taking no damage from this Vigoroth, and we're going to be dealing pretty hefty damage to it with Psywave. And with the Vigoroth down, Zigzagoon comes out, we can be pretty sure it's going to be clicking Snarl. My idea is to go Growlithe here so that I can 4x effective Rock Smash and kill it. It doesn't KO, which is a bit unfortunate, but we do outspeed. Fortunately, we don't get crit, which is nice, and this Zigzagoon does not have a priority move. It gets one shot by the second anyways. Zoroark comes out. I think it's going to be clicking Shadow Sneak because it's priority and it would kill. But instead we're just able to get Eevee in. I probably should have just clicked Bite there. I think I'm risking a couple more crits than I really need to, but I'm kind of thinking that maybe I'll proc Runaway. I don't have Runaway on this Eevee, it's adaptability unfortunately, but Shellos is able to come in, click that Waterfall that we stole from Juan Wallace. And then we can move on to Flannery 3, which is a decent gym to get for us. Fortunately, it's not Flannery 4 or 5 like I normally get. I put Gothorita out because I know I can two-shot and I can steal the Torkoal's Citrus Berry after I either proc the Chesto Berry by falling asleep to Yawn, or the Incinerate takes it out, is my idea here. Now, because it goes Numel, I'm assuming that it's clicking Magnitude, but it doesn't. I've never seen Flannery go Numel over Torkoal before, but apparently it does here. Here I'm just stalling out a little bit of the Sun Turns and Overheat PP. Appleton, of course, you gain access to by having Applin going into Flannery, so you're able to get this evolution. In retrospect, I should be clicking Bullet Seed here, but to me, I just think Fire type I shouldn't click Bullet Seed into, but Bullet Seed is Stab, and will do more damage because of the ground type to Numel. Now I'm contemplating who I want to get in, because I want to, in Flannery, you always want to get your water type in when the sun is down. But Shellos, I want to say, underspeeds most stuff. I think that it outspeeds this Numal, though. It's not super slow. So sun is down. We unfortunately do not outspeed Numal. I was incorrect in that. And we do barely any damage to it, even though it's 4x, but it happens. Now I have to pivot back into Appleton. We get a Magnite. It's a good thing that I switched, or Shellos might be struggling a little bit. And here I protect, thinking it's going to go overheat. I don't consider the potion for some reason, but we're going to be able to take out this Numal no problem now that it's the only damaging move it has at this point is Magnitude, because overheat does nothing at -4 or -6. Unfortunately, because I burned that turn on protect, the Numal's able to get Sunny Day up again, which is a bit annoying. But now the Torkoal comes out, and I can go Growlithe with Flash Fire, which I changed from Intimidate specifically for this fight. And my hope was that the Torkoal was going to be going Attract there. It doesn't, so I wanted it to go Attract into a female Pokemon, and then I can Encore it into Attract, put Shellos in, and kind of take it out over time. But unfortunately, not how the cookie crumbles. I kind of just a random move, click Rock Smash here. You should pretty much only be clicking Rock Smash if you have a chance at the defense drop, and obviously you can't do that versus Torkoal. We are able to steal the Citrus Berry, but this is such like a messy fight by me. It's only used 2 overheat PP, but now we're just going to cycle in Growlithe again and kind of see what we can really accomplish with our Growlithe into this Torkoal. Fortunately, Flannery used Potion into Numal, so it's just going to be a matter of slowly taking this Torkoal out. We're finally able to get the Encore into Attract, and Sun is down, which is kind of perfect. We have 2 more Encore turns, so there's going to be this turn and next turn guaranteed without Sun. I think Water Pulse does more damage because Torkoal is very physically bulky, and we are able to take out the Torkoal, and then Shellos is also going to be able to take out this Vulpix, I think. Misses the Overheat, which makes things a lot easier, and we one-shot with Waterfall. So what can be a difficult Flannery down. Then next we roll Viola 2, and my idea here is open with Manectric, because Manectric doesn't get, the special attack part of Manectric obviously doesn't get impacted by Intimidate. I think you should always open with the special attacker into Masquerain if you can afford to. So we get a overheat off. I think that the Ninjask is going to be clicking Bug Bite, but I forgot that my Electrike, or my Manectric, doesn't have a berry on it, so of course it's going to go for Dig because it's super effective. And now I'm just chipping it with Appleton for whatever reason. I think just so I can get a little bit of chip on it so that my Doxmon doesn't have to fully deal with it on its own. I'm contemplating clicking Work Up here so that I can be past later, but we're going to get the potion out, then Work Up, and one shot with Play Rough. And so here, I want to say there's a world where Doxmon Play Rough just one-shots Beautifly. But I don't want to risk it when I know I could just put in Manectric and deal with this and not die, which I do think is the correct decision. And we're able to take out Beautifly, and then Volbeat has to come out, and because we have +1 special attack from Work Up B-Pass, I'm positive that this Overheat will kill. So that ends up being Viola down. We get access to Scott now, and I forget if Appleton learns Giga Drain by level up or not. So just to be safe, because I don't have the documentation out, I go ahead and buy it, and then of course Flash Cannon for our Steel type, and I also get T-Bolt for Manectric because I kind of forget if I learned T-Bolt on level up, but you do learn T-Bolt on level up at level 39, I believe. So Winona 5 is next, and I like opening my water/ground type into Swablu in these gyms in Winona 1 through 5 because I know that I can get Tropius out second, and I know I can be baiting out Razor Leaf or Leaf Storm at this point, whatever the ground move is. So Arcanine can come in, tank it. Unfortunately, no Sun setup, but we get 2 good rolls. Pelipper comes out, we know this is going to be clicking Surf or Water Pulse. So Gastrodon comes in, and now I know that it has to be clicking a flying move. Manectric comes in, kills with a Discharge. And that means that all we have left now is Swellow, which I'm not too worried about. There's a little bit of concern for me with accidentally paralyzing this and it getting Guts Boost, but Manectric just one-shots with Discharge, so no real need to worry too much. We talk to Scott again. We get 2 Giga Drain TMs offered in the first 2, which is a bit funny. I think that's kind of rare, and honestly, that might not be intended to be in the game anymore. But then we roll into Watson 6, I believe, level 35. Yeah, Watson 6. Unfortunately, the Graveler is pretty much always able to set up Stealth Rocks, so we're going to have to deal with that. Fortunately, we don't have anything 4x weak to rock, so won't be too crazy. We know it's going to be Electrode here, clicking Grass Move, so we can get our Arcanine in. Fortunately, we don't get the special defense drop from Energy Ball, or this matchup could get a little bit difficult, but Arcanine's able to take it out. Manectric comes out, so I know Gastrodon is a very good matchup for this, because the only thing it can hit us with is Bite and Fire Fang, which neither of which are going to do effectively anything. And the one unfortunate thing here is that Gastrodon doesn't get a better move than Mudshot at this point in the game, assuming you haven't gotten Earthquake, so it takes a few turns to end up wiping it out. I know this Raichu is clicking Psychic, and honestly, there's a world where I should be switching to save HP on Gastrodon for the Magneton in the back. Honestly, I definitely should have, because I could just Encore the Raichu into Psychic and take it out, and then I'd have a much freer switch here, but it's fine. We end up being able to take the Magneton out as well. At this stage in the game, before Watson 7 and 8, the Magneton's really not too much of an issue unless you have a Steel type out that gets Magnet pulled, and then you lose it, but fortunately we are able to get through Watson 6. We talk to Scott, and there's Flamethrower, which is great. I want to give that to my Manectric. There's not really anything else. There's an angle where I want to go Manectric and Manectric Flamethrower and leave Arcanine in the PC going into E4, maybe. I really don't think that that's going to happen, but potentially. But I open Appleton Liepard here so that I can fake out the Xatu. Switching in Bronzong for tanking the Xatu Air Slash, which honestly I probably didn't need to do anyways because the Xatu is going to be at -2. The Oranguru comes out here. I'm assuming it's clicking Foul Play, but I don't think that Oranguru Foul Play effectively ever does that much damage. Unfortunately, it is a crit, and it definitely does do a lot of damage, so that makes things a bit more difficult. I switched to Gastrodon here, kind of thinking that I have Discharge still, but I taught Thunderbolt over, unfortunately. But our Manectric's still going to be able to one-shot and outspeed the Xatu, I think. Presumably. I'm megaing just to be sure, because I don't fully remember the HP thresholds The Intimidate doesn't really do much into these two Pokemon, but I kind of just want to make sure it goes down, and I'm assuming that the Oranguru is not going to be clicking Foul Play randomly into my Manectric. So now I'm thinking I can... For some reason I decide to go for the Oranguru here. I think in retrospect I should either Snarl or click T-Ball on Lunatone. And I'm kind of playing this under the assumption that I did already click Snarl, and I'm thinking that whatever the Lunatone does won't kill Manectric at -2, but that's not how I played it at all, and I just forgot. Short-term memory loss in the span of genuinely 10 seconds. I forgot what move I clicked, and now my Mega that I burned 8k of TMs for is dead. So that's a bit silly, especially because at this point there wasn't that much to worry about with this fight, so I kind of just died for no reason. But it'll end up being fine, and we'll get through this fight after a few more moves. And then last, and unfortunately not least, we get Brawly 8. So what I want to try doing more with Mons like Gothitelle, like Espeon, is get Future Sight set up to KO whatever comes out second, because I think that whatever comes out second should be looking to one-shot Gothitelle, which would be either Surfetched or Hariyama. Unfortunately, because Gothitelle with Calm Mind one-shots everything, it ends up going Medicham second, so I just go Arcanine to get the Intimidate off to tank. I'm assuming that there's going to be a heel turn here, so I don't go Extreme Speed for priority kill, which ends up being the correct decision. Surfetched is going to come out, and this is where it's good that my Gothitelle doesn't have a berry, so I can frisk the leak off, and now this Surfetched is much less stressful to fight against. I am not positive if Future Sight counts as a move for Sucker Punch, and I don't really want to test it here, because I'm thinking that maybe if I take Gothitelle to E4 for it with me. I also kind of grossly underestimate how much damage my Bronzong is going to be taking from Surfetched when I go out into this matchup, but it ends up being alright. We get through it, and this should be Hariyama, or I think it's going to be Hariyama clicking Knockoff, but it's Blaziken clicking Blaze Kick or going Focus Energy. I'm really surprised that it doesn't see a kill on Bronzong, but I guess that the +1 defense actually does a lot for it. And now I'm thinking that I'm not going to be able to one-shot this with just a Play Rough because Fire resists Fairy. So I get Work Up in. We also have plus defense because of the Blaze Kick now. Fortunately, we miss 2 Play Roughs, which is a little bit unnerving. But it'll be fine. Hariyama comes in. We know this is going to be clicking a normal type move. And I know that anything that I Baton Pass in that's full HP is going to be able to 1v1 the Hariyama after the plus defense boost, or at least I think so. So Appleton comes in, we reduce the the special defense a little bit with Apple Acid, and then we're able to get out of Brawly 8 with, I want to say, only loss this game so far being our Manectric, which is a bit unfortunate because I really wanted to show a bit of tech with Mega Manectric into a couple of the E4 fights, but it's alright. Scott offers us Earthquake, Body Press, both of which I think are going to be pretty good for me. Shadow Ball as well for either the Bronzong or the Gothitelle. And then we get into E4. We get Sydney for first roll, which is alright. It's a bit unfortunate. I prefer seeing Spencer typically, especially when you have an Arcanine, but ends up being alright. Crawdon is going to be clicking Crabhammer here. So I go Appleton in. I know that this Crawdon outspeeds me, and this knockoff is going to murk me. if I thought about the line a bit more, I would have taken the citrus off so that I take a bit less damage. But then Samurott comes in, and I know it's going to be clicking Megahorn here. I'm trying to think if Megahorn will one-shot me, and I want to say that it will. So best just to go Arcanine here. I know that it's clicking Megahorn. It's never going to click a Water-type move into my Grass-type. So we get Intimidate off, and now we can do the fun little Doxman thing where we work up. I'm debating whether Play Rough will one-shot this because I really don't want to get it into whatever Blaze range is for water types. It's escaping me right now, but Doxman able to come in, one-shot pretty much everything, I think. Does it one-shot Grimmsnarl too? I think it does. Yeah, so Doxman 3k on Spencer. Honestly, probably could have been a 4 or 5k. Now, unfortunately here, I didn't record Phoebe fight. At some point, I'll go back through and record my run for it, but effectively all that you missed is I thought it was Lucy, I opened Gothitelle, and I had to do some really weird force switching to get the matchup that I wanted to begin with that I should have already had if I just didn't lead Gothitelle into the Ghost-type gym. But ends up being alright. We get into Glacia. We're able to frisk the Citrus Berry off the Walrein. And I'm kind of surprised by how much damage Surf does. Ends up pivoting into Body Slam. And I'm really hoping here that I just get a good roll and that I end up KOing this Walrein. Unfortunately, that does not happen. And because I decided not to get Trick Room set up for whatever reason, it sees kill with 100% accurate Body Slam here. Doxman comes in. I know that this guy's going to be clicking heal. So I work up somewhat stupidly because I could just body press this twice and it's probably a KO. And now because I didn't body press twice, I kind of have to switch because if I don't get the KO with body press, I think it's a roll on Surf to kill me. So a little bit of mistakes here. I kind of didn't expect body press to do that much damage, and I also kind of forgot that body press is not increased in damage by clicking workup, so a little bit silly. I get a Trick Room set up so that I can outspeed the next few mons that come in, and I think that Heavy Slam or Flash Cannon might one-shot the Glalie, and that I might not die to Crunch, but I really don't want to risk it at this point when I can just go Arcanine and probably deal with anything. Unfortunately, this is kind of where the Trick Room is starting to bite me, because I take a bunch more chip, or a bit more chip than I need to, and lose my berry to the Glalie when, if I hadn't set up Trick Room at that timer, then I wouldn't take that damage. But now it's Arcanine into Frostlass and Ninetales. I know that I underspeed the Frostlass, but I don't think Shadow Ball kills me. I'd be correct. I think I might die to crit there, but that's fine. And now that's last turn of Hail, and the Ninetales comes out, so its ability isn't able to proc, and because this Ninetales does not have Freeze Dry, I know that it's a playable matchup for my Gastrodon. If I don't get Frozen, I do get Frozen. But realistically, that doesn't change much this fight. It just means it'll take a little bit longer. Last fight of the E4, we end up rolling Drake, which I'm okay with in this box because we don't have a real Brandon sweeper. So I'd probably still rather see Brandon usually, but it's fine. It's not that much of a worry. We are kind of just hoping that Executor doesn't get a bunch of Harvest procs, because that'll make this opening a little bit unfortunate if it's able to heal again. I don't think that Flare Blitz KOs from the HP it was at, so I'm just clicking Flamethrower so that I don't take a bunch of chip damage for no reason. We know that with this Flygon coming in, it kind of has to be clicking EQ. So our Levitate Bronzong can kind of just chill. Now I also know that this should be clicking Flamethrower, but I want to get a bit of chip out first. So I go Trick Room so that now I can put in Doxbund? Gastrodon? Doxbund? So that we can get the well-baked body proc, good play, past KCH 42, and now we're able to get a workup boosted play ref, one-shot the Flygon, and Dragalge comes out, so we can switch into Gastrodon here, presumably. Or, yeah, when I say switch, I mean Baton Pass, obviously, because we have workup boost plus defense boost. So here I'm debating whether or not I want to put Gothitelle in for Psychic. I do not end up doing that. We go Gastrodon, which I think is the right decision because it goes Mence next after we EQ, and we have Icy Wind TM, which is very nice. And with the defense boost on this Gastrodon, we're really not going to be taking much damage from the Salamence. So this is all great. Icy Wind TM, I know Freeze was talking about it a bit earlier this week about how Icy Wind TM changes a lot of Pokemon and a lot of matchups, and I think that this box kind of showed me that I agree. And now the only mon that we have left is Kingdra, which can be a little bit difficult. I want to get one Icy Wind off just to get this thing speed down. I think that there might be a world where I'm able to tank 2 Dragon Pulses, but I really don't want to risk a crit. I really want my Gastrodon going into Wally, and we're able to chip the Kingdra down a bit more with Gothitelle, and now we are on our way over to Wally. Wally fight, of course, we're going to be leading our Fire type. With Arcanine, we can just click Flamethrower twice. Technically, we could click Flare Blitz once, but we are going to be taking less chip damage from Leech Seed. I know that I outspeed the Roserade because Roserade, I think, is 128, 127 or 128 speed. Arcanine's 130. So it's best to go Flamethrower and not take the chip from Flare Blitz and not potentially get Poison Pointed. Bronzong comes in. I'm surprised that Garchomp doesn't click Sandstorm here, because I think it normally clicks Sandstorm even when it sees that you don't, what's it called? When you don't take chip damage from it, but here for some reason it doesn't. Gastrodon, of course, is in after Trick Room to click Icy Wind a few times. Garchomp does end up setting Sandstorm. We take a fair amount of damage from EQ, but I think we'll be fine, and the Trick Room is going to be running out just in time, I believe, for all these speed drops to take into effect, and now we outspeed again, and we get 2 good rolls this time instead of 2 bad ones, so Garchomp down, Gallade comes out. I know, because it sees 4x effective, that this should be clicking Leaf Blade, and Arcanine Intimidate can proc on the Gallade before it Megas. I don't think you can reduce the Gallade's attack when it's in Mega. I might be crazy, though. Now here, I think it's going to be going CC, probably. So I go in with Doxbund. Unfortunately, it clicks Psycho Cut, I think because it doesn't see kill with -1 CC, which really surprised me. I go into Bronzong on either Psycho Cut or Leaf Blade just to tank it. And I'm honestly kind of just surprised that my Bronzong lives the CC. And I'm trying to think if I want to pivot out to something else. I don't. I'll just put in whatever Pokemon I think can outspeed Gallade, which I think is Arcanine. I forget what speed base Gallade is, but it is indeed less than 130. I want to say that it's 128 or 120 or something as well. But out comes the Azumarill. I'm going into Gastrodon just because I know it's clicking Water-type move, and I want to slow it a little bit. I think that honestly this might not be the right play because I might have needed Gastrodon for the Talonflame or maybe even for the Magnezone in the back. But I decide to do this so that I can get a free switch to Appletun, get speed drops so that Azumarill isn't able to click Play Rough and potentially one-shot Appleton. So that's all fine and dandy. I'm kind of just sacking Appleton here because I've killed my water type earlier. But I know that after a couple Brave Birds, the Talonflame's going to be able to take itself out. And now the only thing that we have left in the back is the Magnezone. And I put Ducksman out because I know I outspeed and I just want to get some chip in, break sturdy. I know that I died a Flash Cannon on one move, which is perfect, and now we're able to get in Arcanine and take the Magnezone out with a couple flamethrowers after the potion. So again, I really wish that I'd been able to get Megametric in here, but still a good run. Alright, so I recorded an 11-minute segment on the tier list, and I realized that I did not unmute my mic, so I'll go through it again, and it'll be a lot shorter. Growlithe, you have access to Intimidate and Flash Fire. You're good early, you're great late. Fire type's good in E4, it's decent in Gym phase as well. And with a Storm Drain Pokemon, it can even kind of be useful into Juan Wallace in a weird way. But really good Pokemon. Then we also have Fido. I think that this and pretty much all Baton Pass Mons are very underrated. The fact that you have Work Up, Play Rough, Snarl, Baton Pass by I think Gym 4 is kind of crazy for this Mon. You also get access to Charm, Body Press, all that stuff. There's a lot good to be said for this Mon as both a support and a carry. And I think that it scales really well into E4. As we kind of saw in this box, we also have Shellos up here, which I was kind of a Shellos doubter. I don't really like Pokemon, especially ground-type Pokemon, that don't get access to their typing until really late. But Shellos having Storm Drain for early Juan Wallace, also being able to switch into like Azumarill, Waterfall, knowing what you're going to be baiting, because you're always going to be baiting Grass-type move. You can pivot into other Pokemon that can tank it and one-shot after. And access to Icy Wind TM, I think, is what moves this thing up for me. As we kind of saw in the Garchomp. And I'm thinking that maybe Ice Beam, I wonder if it learns Ice Beam TM, would have also been good there, but the extra utility the Icy Wind TM gives you is very, very good for this Pokemon. Speaking of utility, Bronzor, I think, really, really solid Pokemon. Great early game, just carry Mon, honestly. The fact you're able to tank everything, hit Psywaves off, Confuse Ray if it's really chopped, all that stuff is very beneficial, and Steel typing, especially early game, is really good. Gothita, I love Frisk Mons, and I think that this has a lot better curve than I expected it to. It's a bit unfortunate that you don't get full Evo until Gym 7, but I'm kind of coming around to Pokemon like Gothitelle and like Grimmsnarl that don't evolve until late. I think that they have uses, and Frisk is great for stealing Citrus Berries, for stealing Leek, for stealing the Marowak Bone to really neutralize gyms like that. I think Electrike, I wasn't able to show it in the video, unfortunately, but early Mega is always great. I think your Evo curve isn't terrible. I love Lightning Rod as an ability into late Watson and Wally, where you're able to get a special attack boost from switching into an electric move and then kind of just take over a little bit. And I think that Intim on Mega is very nice and kind of neutralizes a lot of the weaknesses that having a Mega Stone over Citrus Berry normally comes with. I think Applin is good Mon. I preferred it in my first run of this box than in my second, but I think still decent Mon. I think B tier is still like a good Mon to me, and I could honestly see this moving up depending on your playstyle, but for me, my grass types, I like having them be a bit more consistent early, and I think that it has a little bit of variation, especially if you get early Juan Wallace and you need your grass type to do something, it can get really unfortunate. But with the Shellos, it's a great Mon and probably deserves to be an A, but I think just in general, I put this here just for what I want from a grass type. I also normally think that Dragon type is an active weakness rather than a strength. I think that the access to Dragon Pulse really does nothing for this Pokemon, and I think that while it helps into like Flannery, I don't expect my grass type to do anything into Flannery, and you're really not going to accomplish much in Flannery regardless, since pretty much all your moves are grass type. But still decent Mon, and it being the second to last Pokemon on this list, I wouldn't say take it to mean I think that this is a bad Pokemon. I think it's good. I just don't think it's as good, in my opinion, as the other ones above it, but this is a good box. And last and least, we have Purloin. I understand why people like this mon. I think Gym 3 Evo with Snarl, Encore, Fake Out is really nice, but I think I don't like using it too much. I could honestly definitely see it moving up for me if I get more accustomed to using it, but I think there's so much to accomplish with this box already that I didn't really feel the need to do Fake Out, Snarl, pivot stuff personally when I already have pivot with Intimidate, with Frisk, with Levitate and Steel typing, with Storm Drain, all this stuff there, and with Well Baked Body. There's so much to pivot into already that I didn't really feel the need for Purloin. And I think that not very bulky dark types in E4 are kind of underwhelming to me. And typically, my dark types, I want to have an alternative typing like Drapion, like Grimmsnarl. It gives them a lot more value than they already have. But that's this week's box. I think, all in all, very good box. I'm trying to get the boxes to a point where they're not exceedingly easy to beat the game, but that you can still see a lot of stuff and a lot of tech to run with. And I hope that this box had a little bit of that. I know that there's a lot of pivot things to do with these, but all in all, pretty fun box. But that'll be it. Peace.